Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Woke Watch, the series in which we pick wokeness apart and expose it for the hypocritical bullshit that it is. Because we're told to be woke is to embrace diversity, inclusivity and to treat everyone as an equal. Unless you're a straight white man, in which case you can fuck off. There's a story circulating on the internet about an event which allegedly took place, and the word allegedly is very important because it will stop me from getting sued. It concerns an American chap called Chris who works in computing. Chris writes code. He's been doing it for 12 years and he's at the absolute top of his game. So he applied for a job with a company called DuckDuckGo. They run a search engine and they're attempting to rival the mighty Google. He applied for the job online in a process that involves answering some technical questions in order to prove he knows what he say he knows, and also attaching a copy of, I think in America they call it the resume. In Britain we call it the curriculum vitae or CV. In fact, it's odd that both Brits and Yanks speak English, but when we apply for a job we have to do it in foreign. So he listed his qualifications and answered the questions both in depth and correctly. He then sent his application to DuckDuckGo and received a reply saying the job wasn't for him and he wouldn't be moving forward. But DuckDuckGo has got a reputation for being very woke. So Chris applied again, this time posing as an underqualified illiterate black lesbian. So he created Aliyah Imani, and on her resume under her name it says Pride and Diversity. Because Chris thought that sounded gay and pointless. So he completed the application again, but this time as Aliyah. Aliyah only has 5 years experience. All her qualifications are slightly worse than Chris's. When it came to the technical questions, Aliyah got all of them wrong, but constantly refers to her race and sexuality. And on top of that, the entire form was littered with spelling and grammatical errors. So let's recap. Aliyah has less than half the experience of Chris. She has worse qualifications, is technically incompetent and unable to use basic English. And on top of that, Aliyah also said she doesn't know if she needs a visa to work in the USA. So it's possible she's an illegal immigrant. Chris then sent that to DuckDuckGo, and within minutes she was offered an interview. And that perfectly sums up all that's bloody wrong with wokeness. Because if we're not meant to judge people on their race, their gender or their sexuality, that's got to include straight white men. Otherwise it's just a fucking farce. I thought the way to equality was to bring more seats to the table, as it were. But what wokies do is kick people off the table so they can engage in some box ticking. And I know the anti-everything brigade will be screaming, but straight white men already have all the power. And to an extent that's true. But the vast majority of us don't. And it sounds like Chris has worked his arse off to get to the top of his profession, only to have a job denied because of some made up diversity quota. Surely the job should go to the person who'd be best at doing it. For example, when I go on holiday, as I'm boarding the aircraft, the people in the cockpit, although we'll probably have to change that soon, cockpit will be triggering, the pilot, the aircrew, I'm not bothered what colour their skin is, what genitals they have and who they choose to share their genitals with. The only thing I'm concerned with is that they're fucking good at flying an aeroplane. But with the way things are going, it wouldn't surprise me if there was some woke airline executive who was horrified to discover that none of their pilots are blind. So they fast-tracked some through. And as the Boeing 767 slammed into the side of a mountain, killing everyone on board, they think that's a small price to pay to show how bloody progressive we are. That's the end of this video. I expect that by next week I'll have been replaced by a quadriplegic Mexican dwarf. As ever, thanks for watching. Fuck it! I'll go with Aliyah. Years experience, he's at the fuck it. Reapply, posing as an underqualified illiterate black lesbian. Essentially every other person on the BBC. There's a great quote from Jeremy Clarkson. How can I be homophobic when I watch lesbian porn? Less than half the experience, underqualified, and I forgot the next one. The technical, I'll fuck that up as well. I've had a few people comment saying that where I live looks really nice. This bit, the nature reserve, that's grand. But then just look over here. What a fucking tip. I've heard the people of Afghanistan are running a fundraiser for us.